I'm Maggie. Welcome to Experiments in Crafting. Tonight I have quite a few project updates to share with you guys, and I've got a Leither box to open up. I also recently went through all of my boxes and pulled all of my hooks and all of the stitch markers and everything, and so I've got those to share as well. Um, so I guess I'll start with saying hello. Welcome to everybody in the chat, and if you have questions about crochet or yarn or anything like that, just feel free to throw those in the live chat, and I'll answer those as we go. Otherwise, I guess I'll get started. I guess I'll start with a project that I haven't shared before because I started it in the last couple of days. This is a hat that I'm working on, and I'm trying to remember its name, and now I can't think of what it is. I should look real quick. But this is, it's called the Amanda Beanie, actually. So this is a hat pattern that I found that looked really cool, and this was a yarn that I had bought recently and showed you guys. This is a Madeline Tosh yarn, I think. Yeah, Madeline Tosh Vintage. Tosh Vintage. It's 100% merino wool. It's 100 grams, 200 yards. And this one is called Hosta Blue. So, Hosta, like the plants. I kind of thought they had purple flowers, so I'm not sure what a Hosta Blue is. Because they're like a really dark leafy green. Like just a really... I don't know. I'm not sure what Hosta Blue means. But the color is really cool. It's kind of a cool, like, aqua. And the pattern is really neat. This is super simple to do this, like, this braid along here. They're just puff stitches worked at kind of like an angle. And so they're aligned so that they make, like, this kind of braid. And so I think I'm to the part where I just need to finish off, like, the dome part of the hat. This hat comes with the pattern to do a ponytail hat or like a regular hat or a messy bun hat. So ponytail meaning low ponytail, a messy bun meaning up high, and then just the other option is just a hat, like regular. But anyway, like I said, this is called the Amanda Beanie, and that's what I've been working on the last few days. I had to do some really boring training, like mandatory video watching training, so I did this and watched my COVID training and whatnot, how to wash my hands. So, was able to do both at the same time, which was nice. So that's one project that I wanted to share, and that one's almost done. The next one, I don't remember where I shared this last, like what stage I was at, but I think it was headless. So I finished the head on my doll. Well, not quite. It's still in kind of zombie mode with its brain spilling out. So I've gotten to the point where I either need to decrease or make a disc and sew it on. I'm a big fan of the make a disc and sew it on style of head rather than decrease, because I just find it way too difficult, one, with all of the stuffing in there, to get nice tight stitches without getting stuffing stuck in them, and two, really just to decrease well enough that you can get all the way down to, 6 stitches or so, and keep it nice and tight. And I really have nice tight stitches on the back of the head and all throughout the body. And so I'd really rather not ruin that. My doll's got one leg just a little bit longer than the other. And one foot a little bit bigger than the other. But I haven't totally decided what color hair this doll is going to have. But I did have an idea. And I haven't really decided if I'm going to go forward with it. But I have this purple gradient that I bought at Hobby Lobby. It's their Pigment and Fiber Lavender Days. And I might try and do gradient hair. So I intend to crochet the hair rather than use yarn hair. So more like my mermaid that has crocheted hair. I think I can do color changes. So if I did a few stitches of like a really light purple and then a few stitches of a medium purple and then a few stitches of dark purple or the other way around, I think I'd probably go light to dark. But I was thinking I could do kind of a cool gradient hair. I'm not totally sure it'll work. I have no idea how it'll turn out, but that's maybe my plan. My alternate plan is probably just to do a sort of normal hair color. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But I haven't totally decided, and this one's been kind of put on the back burner a little bit so that I can finish up some Christmas projects, like the hat. So, there's my sort of work in progress doll. I really like doing the dolls with the paper wrapped wire because they're so posable and like I don't know, they're just so much nicer when they stand up nicely and like I don't know. They are relatively miserable though to work with. Um because you have to crochet around wire the whole time. Hold on just 1 second. We're fixing something. Okay. So yeah. You can kind of see that wire here, still poking through the top. I just cut it off so that it ends up in like sort of in the middle of the head. And got wire all through the arms. I did a continuous wire, so the arms sort of move together. But they can move independently, but they kind of swing back and forth because they're one continuous piece of wire. So anyway, it allowed me to like sit the doll down and pose it while I was sitting talking. Looks like a couple of hellos. BU for you, Crafty Caitlin, and Runaway Needle Red. Welcome to everybody saying hello, and thank you for joining me tonight. Runaway Needle Red also says that it looks like a nice hat. I think it's going to be. I tried it on last night, but I didn't look at myself. But I think it's just a really cool pattern with those sort of braided sections in there. Like I said, they're super easy puff stitches, but they just look so cool with that like braided texture. The pattern itself has these really cool like multicolor hats and like kind of crazy pom-poms on top that are like really light colored in the center and like gradient out to these dark tips, and it looks really neat. It's very pretty like photography on the pattern, which is probably how I ended up. Who was the pattern by? I don't remember. I'm hoping my husband can find it based on the description I just gave with the picture. Okay. It didn't come through or I missed the link. Okay. Yeah, your posts aren't coming in on my side anyway. We're trying to post the pattern. I'm not sure if it's showing up for you guys or not, but it's not coming. At least I'm not seeing it on the live chat.
Yeah, I don't see it over here.
Yeah. So. There we go. There's the link to the pattern. So it showed up on my side though. Maybe the chat's not updating. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, hopefully it shows up. If it doesn't, can you tell me who the designer is? Yeah, Mrs. B's Custom Crochet is the pattern designer. I think there was a really popular beanie called the Macy beanie. I think she's also the pattern designer on that, but this is the Amanda beanie. All right, so I'm going to slide that over as well. And then the last project update, I finally got my dragon done. So here is the final dragon. It's got a little bit that's poking out. Okay, that's better. So this is the dragon that is done in Melbrigo, and there's a little bit of Encore, Patents Canada or whatever, Canada, and then The wings are mostly made of Good For You Posy, in the color Plummy Fortescue, I think was the name of the color. So, um, took kind of a lot of work, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I sewed the wings on wrong at first, but I've got them fixed now. They're supposed to be sewn along the back here, and I had when I had attached the wings, this little flap looked like it went best like straight down the leg, and I sewed it on there, and it didn't look quite right, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong, and then I reconsulted the pattern and realized I had sewn it in the wrong spot, but it looks way better where it's at because it's not blocking the whole body. Before it was like this, and you couldn't see any of the body from the front. But this dragon has wire all down the structure, so it's got wire all the way to the tip of the tail, so that it can be kind of rolled up or uncurled, and then it's got wire all the way to the nose, so you can bend its head and repose it. There's a little bit of wire in the front legs. There's no wire in the back legs. They're just sewn on in place. The front legs also have those like little, they're not fish tank rocks, but they're like decorative like glass stones. And so those are in the feet, sort of like weighting down the feet. There's also some in the back feet. There's actually 2 in the back feet. And so, well, it's actually not making much noise. It was kind of clicky before. And so, yeah, this is my dragon. So, I can kind of still get it to stand, but the wings are making that a little bit more difficult. So I did choose to do it in the sitting position. And I really like that the wings can kind of like fold up, and it just looks really cool. I don't know how many times its wings can be folded and unfolded, so I've been trying not to do it too much. BU for you asked, how do you do the dome head without decreasing? And Jill and Runaway Needle Red both really like the dragon. So thank you guys. I think the dome head was about the doll, so I'll go back to that question in just 1 second. But I think it's about the doll. Maybe you can clarify. The dragon head is worked nose to this direction and then sewn on, so you increase most of the way through the dragon. But on the doll, I think that's probably what the question's referring to. So, the only thing that I don't love about this dragon is that on the chest part, my lines, I sewed it a little bit crooked, and so they're kind of a little bit horizontal. Most people, I imagine, won't even notice, but the ridges are just a little bit crooked. So, I use the same wire. So this is this paper wrapped floral wire from Michaels, and I think it's 18-inch sticks. I don't have any of it in the bag. The pattern for the dragon is, I'm so bad with remembering designers' names. It's just called Dragon on Ravelry, and it's a picture of a dragon done in like a multicolored, like striping yarn is the main picture. Hopefully my husband can find it. All right, so I'll set this aside and then talk about the. Oh, weird. It didn't ever come through on my side either.
No.
Oh.
I can't send them from either computer. I can't send it from my laptop. I can't send it from my phone. I can't send it
Are we accidentally streaming with the wrong account or something and it's blocking the links?
No.
Oh.
These 2 are on my other account, and I'm an administrator.
Weird. Well, I guess we're not able to post the links tonight for some reason, but maybe you could find me a designer's name. But there is a pattern, and then there are a couple of add-on patterns as well, that give you more accessories for the dragon. So there's a couple of alternate leg styles. There's a couple of different ear styles. There's like eye detailing that you can get. All sorts of like little add-on things, but the pattern itself for the dragon is something like 108 pages. However, it for some reason contains both a full picture version and a uh printer friendly version like in the same thing. So it's really only like a 60-page pattern with like a 40-page printer friendly version. Um but I don't know why normally a Ravelry, when there's a printer friendly version, they just upload it as a separate like iteration. Megan Lapp. Okay. So Megan Lapp's the designer on the dragon pattern. And if I remember correctly, it was a little pricey, but it was very much worth the effort. Like I said, it was like 100 pages. So, oh, it's only $6. Okay, I was thinking it was 10, but even so, like it was worth the pattern. Um, yeah, we're not sure why we can't post links tonight. It's not normally a problem, but unfortunately, it's not coming through when we post them. Like I can see that we've pasted it in, but it's not coming through on the live chat. So, like I said, Megan Lapp is the designer on the dragon pattern, and Mrs. B's Crochet is the designer on the hat pattern, which is called the Amanda beanie. And this doll is, I should know it. It's the Elin pattern. Nina's Hook Crochet is what's coming to mind, but I don't know if that's right. Elin. Is the pattern I'm following for that. I could be wrong on that designer. Okay. So, we were going to talk about the doll and how you do the head. So at this point, what I would do is I've decreased about as far as I'd like to. And so what I would do is stop, finish off the project. And then what I would do is make a disc. So I would start with a magic circle and then do increases until I have the same amount of stitches in a circle as I do with the... So I have the same amount of stitches in the circle as I do in the last row of my head. So you can do this two ways. If you just know how to do an increased circle, you can just do it yourself and do the increases however you want. If you don't, what you can do is start with the stitch counts and work your way backwards. And so what I mean by that is this is, like, let's say this is 36 stitches. And on the next row, they want you to decrease once every 6 stitch down to 24 stitches. Is that right? 36 down to... No. 36 down to 30. So they'd want you to decrease to 30 stitches. What you would do is... And then you would decrease from 30 to 24 and 24 to... you could go 24 to 18 or you could go 24 to 12 if you decreased all... You know what I mean? So you'd go 24 to 18, 18 to 12, 12 to 6. If you were going to make a disc, you would go 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. And so you would just do your increases sort of backwards, like work your way backwards for the disc. But what you want is the same amount of stitches. So if there's 36 stitches here, I want a disc with 36 stitches. And then I would just put the disc on and whip stitch it all the way around, and it'll just disappear because all your hair is going to get sewn on top of here. And that way, what you do is as you're sewing around, you do your, you pick up the 2 loops here, you pick up the 2 loops, and you pull tight. You pick up 2 loops, and you pull tight all the way around. When you get to the end, you can shove a whole bunch of stuffing in and just stitch those last 2 stitches and pull them tight. And you don't have to, like, crochet through all those stitches and try and keep tightening your loops. It's much easier to increase with tight tension, at least for me, than it is to decrease. You also have the opportunity here, if you switch to the disc style, you could also switch to your hair color so that it's easier to hide the basically hide the scalp. So yeah, on the mermaid might be scalp colored. Yeah, the mermaid's scalp all the way to the top. The other doll has colored scalp. So you can see the mermaid's hair here. Miko might, but it's the other doll, the brown-haired doll. But yeah, you can see that the mermaid has scalp color all the way to the top because this was worked top down and then I sewed on where the neck is at. I really not a big fan of how the mermaid's skin turned out. So you can see like the mermaid's got like some acne that I don't love. But yeah, the mermaid I did not do that, and it's a little bit harder to hide that scalp. I think it's slightly easier with the crocheted style hair because you kind of crochet these big discs of hair and sew them on. But when you do yarn hair, it's a lot easier to hide the scalp if the scalp portion is colored. So this is like the whole big disc that I sewed on. But, you know, underneath is all skin tone underneath. Doll delivery. So you can see on this doll, her scalp goes up to here. We'll go back to the zoomed in camera. The last row that I worked with her scalp was here, and then I was able to start working the hair in. But the top of her head, like if I get down to her scalp, the top of her head is the same dark brown as her hair, which meant I didn't have to fill in so tightly. Like she doesn't have any bald spots because her whole scalp is hair colored. And so I didn't like she's pretty heavily filled in, but like back here there's big chunks where I didn't have to put hair and was able to use a lot less bulk. There were, you know, there's big chunks in here where I didn't have to put any hair because the scalp color was matched to her hair. So did I do that with this doll? Oh, I forgot I tied her to the stick. She kept falling down. Yeah, I did the same with this doll. Her scalp color matches her hair in here as well, which just lets me not have to fill it in so tight. But if you look, because like the back of her head was still head color, you kind of gotta cover it a little bit more with the long hair, because otherwise you can see like bald spots like poking through. So Jill asked what color I used for the yarn skin tone. So this is Haiku's Simplicity, and it's in the color Karen or Karen's birthday suit. It's Karin. Karen or Karen's birthday suit, and it's apparently modeled after the one of either the founders or owners or somebody very high up CEO's skin tone, and I guess she's a slightly pink Caucasian woman, because that's about what color this is. It's a really like, I actually don't like the color at all when it's hanked up. Like in the store when I bought it, the woman who owns the yarn store that I bought it for, you know, said, this is a good skin tone color, like for what you're looking for, why don't you try this? And I was kind of on the fence about it, but it was not very expensive, and so I just was like, okay, I'll try it. And really wasn't sure. It's absolutely perfect for the dolls that I've been doing. But it really, really doesn't look like it in the ball. Like, I don't even think the ball and the doll look like the same color when they're worked up versus like all laying next to each other. I think the ball looks way more peach and like pink. It's just, I don't know, for some reason it looks way warmer to me in ball form than it does in doll form, which doesn't really make any sense because like, you can clearly tell they're the same yarn because I'm working with it. So I don't know if it's just the holes and the white behind it that kind of give it that look or what it is. Or maybe it's just my eyes playing tricks on me, but they definitely look different to my eye. I don't know if I've got any of the yarn still in hank form. It doesn't look like I have any handy. But anyway, I think it's about $8 a hank. I can make about one whole doll out of a ball, depending. Like, this was, I think I changed yarn balls one time in here. I must have already sewn in the ends. I think I can get about one amigurumi doll out of a ball of yarn, or a ball and a little bit. So, and it depends on the height of the doll, and it depends on, if you use other colors in there. Sometimes they call for like making clothes right into the body. So this one has little underwear on that are part of the doll. In this doll, I made her separate underwear. So, but you can tell this doll is super floppy because I didn't do the wire, and she's kind of difficult to get to stay on the stand. I usually have to put the stand around her neck and then just kind of hang her from the stand so that she's standing up. Where this doll will, like, just about stand on her own. So, she's being supported by this doll, like, just a tiny bit, but she mostly is rigid enough to stand up. So, it depends on what you want to do with the dolls. Like, I just kind of like making them and dressing them and displaying them. So super rigid dolls make sense for me. If you're going to give it to a small child, you probably want to go not so rigid. And like, this doll does actually have a little bit of wire. She's got pipe cleaner arms, but her arms are super soft, and you would kind of never even know that they're much more than stuffed. Where this doll's arms are very rigid and like take effort to uncurl. Because it's got 14 gauge wire inside. So 14 or 16 gauge wire. So yeah, there's the two dolls. Jill's asking if I freeform or I do patterns. So for the dolls themselves, I follow patterns. This is the Elin pattern. And this doll is Danielle. From a different designer. I don't know why I'm blinking so badly on names tonight, on designers' names. If you search for Danielle and doll, I imagine you'll come up with a doll. The Danielle doll, though, has orange hair and like a fabric dress on in the Revelry listing. And then this doll, like I said, is Elin. Or I guess Ellen, depending on. But I think Elin is Elin. And it's a different designer. And I can't think of either of them tonight. And unfortunately, we can't post links. But I can try and post them later on or something like that. So. But if you search those two names, you should come up with them. As far as the doll patterns themselves, I generally follow the pattern. When it gets to clothes, I do whatever I want. So this dress was freeform. The little underwear were freeform. And I got to use my snap setter gun on, or like pliers, I guess, really, on the back of the dress. And so it's got snaps on the back. And then this doll doesn't have clothes yet, but I intend to probably just make something freehand. This doll here is we're still working on crochet or embroidered eyes, but all of the clothing was based on a character design, but I just freehanded everything, just kind of figuring out the stitches, um, and followed the same pattern as the Danielle doll, but just started in red. And when I felt like I was high enough for these um, sort of thigh high boot type of look here, then I just switched to skin tone instead. So anyway, this doll I did shove wire into her legs because they were really not cooperative, and it made a big difference. I'm trying to see what's. Oh, the wire's poking out through her hip. Gotta shove it back in. Okay, there was something poking out of the skirt, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So she had a little bit of wire, but you can see once I put the wire in, even though these dolls were pretty close to the same height, she kind of got taller because her legs stiffened. Just a little bit. The gauge is probably slightly different too. I love their little ears. This doll in particular, I love her ears. Just these little curly ears. Probably not visible on there. There. So. Jill says they're adorable. Thank you. I don't really have any reason to make a whole bunch of dolls. They're just fun. And I like making doll clothes, so I've just had fun just making some dolls and doing whatever. So, the last thing I've got to show tonight is the Leither Co. box. I haven't totally decided, but this may be my last Leither Co. box for a while. I did some rearranging and organizing here in my craft room / filming studio. And I found all of my hooks and all of my Leither Co. boxes and went through them all, and I really have so many hooks and so much yarn from this and a bunch of patterns and stuff that I think I'm gonna maybe put it on pause for a little bit, and just use some of that up. So let's see what this one is. So this is a subscription service. They only do crochet patterns. It comes with a crochet hook. The hooks are hand turned by the husband of the team, and the yarn is hand dyed by the wife of the team. And so that's what it's just kind of a crochet kit. And so there aren't too many crochet surprise box type things. And so I went with this. This is the yarn. It's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It's 100 grams and it is 76 yards. The name of it is Ladybug in bulky gold. So bulky gold must be the base. It looks like a single ply, really light twist type of bulky yarn. So there's the yarn. And then let's see. So every month there's a pattern, and then there's usually a stitch marker or some sort of small little surprise. So this has a little ladybug stitch marker. There is also a sort of ladybug themed yarn ball sticker, which is pretty cute. So it kind of looks like the little yarn balls on Ravelry loading pages, but is also ladybug spotted. And a peppermint, which is making the box smell really nice. And then this is the Ladybug collection. The Leither Co. boxes come in both a wool and non-wool version, and the non-wool is generally cotton. And let's see, I can open up to this page. So it looks like the options were merino yarn, which was in the Ladybug color, or cotton yarn, which was in fern, which is kind of this pale green. Sometimes the colors pretty closely match, and sometimes they're very different. Everybody got, in the deluxe boxes, everybody got 1 out of 6 of these different colored ladybugs. And then there were 2 hooks, and I haven't opened my hook yet, but one was a funfetti, which came in black and red, and the other one looks like a dark wood. Everyone got a sticker, and then there are 2 patterns. It looks like a ear warmer and a cowl. And often there's enough to do both, but sometimes there's only enough to do one or the other. And let's see. There's a pattern for a linked shell square. It must be for leftover yarn. There might not be enough needed for the cowl. I'm trying to find if there's a spot. So on the cowl, I can turn and show you the picture because it's not part of the pattern page. So there's the ladybug or the fern cowl. And then let me see. I'll go back and just fold it over just a little bit. Oh, here. There's a picture of the ear warmer on the page that doesn't have pattern text. So there's the ear warmer. It's kind of a little bit tall, but still looks pretty nice. So, and then there's a picture. Let me see if I can do this. There's a picture of a linked shell square. I'm just trying not to show the pattern since they're part of the paid box. So there's the square. So okay. Anyway, so that is the Leither Co box, and then let's open the hook. This isn't. Huh? No.
I don't know what people are seeing right now, but
Yeah.
like my video reviewing this thing is back like showing the ladybug sticker right now.
Oh, weird.
It's like 3 minutes behind.
Hmm.
So I don't know if anybody's seeing this like
Yeah. So I guess we're quite a bit delayed. So if you're asking questions, I'm not seeing them for several minutes because you're not seeing my video for several minutes. But anyway, the hook this month is it's non-clover, which is interesting. So most of the hooks have been clover hooks. I don't think I own a metal hook this big though. So this is definitely not a clover hook. It doesn't have the very slippery feel. Plus the clover hooks are the clover hooks of this size are plastic. So this is a metal hook and it is an N hook, but it is heavy and like pretty beefy. It does seem very nice, and this is the kind of shape that I like with this kind of ball at the end, where my pinky can't clamp down quite so hard. That's usually where my hand gets sore if I'm crocheting a ton, is that my pinky tightens up too much. I can't crochet quite as fast with these hooks as I can with my regular clovers, but they are more comfortable. And so sometimes I will switch to them just to slow down and like let my hand relax a bit. So that is my Leither Co box, and like I said, that might be the last one for a little while. I'm pretty sure I'm going to cancel for a bit. And maybe start back up when I, use some more of the stuff. What I was going to show is I gathered all of my hooks, and maybe this will be a better explanation as to why I don't need to continue. So there was this bracelet in one of the boxes, and it was not intended to be a charm bracelet, but I took all of the stitch markers and hung them from the bracelet. And so you can see all the different months worth of stitch markers there. Sometimes there were 2 or 3 in a month. Like this yarn and this little tree and this key, I think, all came together. But there's lots of different ones. There's a cute little ice cream cone. There's a iridescent fish. I really like this like Mrs. Potts and Chip one. So there's all different ones through here. And so I just hung them like a charm bracelet. I don't tend to use that kind of stitch marker all that often because they risk tangling in the yarn. And this is going to be loud when I let these go. But there are all of the... Oh, you know what else is in here? There were a couple of months where instead of a stitch marker, there were pins. And so there's a little Red Riding Hood pin, and a butterfly, and a really cute pineapple made of a yarn ball. So it's like a little yarn ball with a pineapple hid in it. And one month there was a tiny pair of scissors. But this is why I feel like I should probably pause for a little bit. So these are all of my different hooks. I've gone through, I've got one of every size in the clover hooks and then some. So when the subscription service, like when I started, they were doing all hand-turned wood hooks. And so I think there's 3 in here that are completely wooden one-piece hooks. So I've got a 6.5, a 9, and a 7mm all wooden hook. And then 3 months into when I started subscribing, they switched to metal hooks. And you can see these ones are like bright, shiny metal. And if you compare them to the clover hooks, like this one's a really dull metal. And so you can see, like, you can tell the clover hooks pretty easily. These dull metal ones have the, like, powder coating or whatever on them that makes them so slippery. So I think I've got 3, maybe, that are non-clover. And so that is a 275, which I think is a B or a C hook. I think it's a C hook. A 4mm, which is a G hook, and an 8mm, which is an 8mm hook. Which might be an L hook or something, but I hate letters beyond like a K hook, because they're all so hazy. So I've got 3 that are like regular metal hooks, and then that one's a regular metal hook. That's a 3.5. And then all the rest of these have clover hooks set in them, and hand-turned wooden handles. And so I've got a B. One of the things that I don't love is they go back and forth between numbering them and lettering them. And so it's fine, but it's a little bit frustrating. So I've got a B hook here, and then this one's 2.25, which is also a B. Okay, it's just not over here. Sorry about that. I don't know if we cut out or what happened there, but YouTube / our stream is having a little bit of technical difficulty tonight. So hopefully you still get to see everything. But yeah, so this is sort of the reason that I need to pause for a little while and just use some of what I've collected. So again, this is going to be kind of loud as I remove these. And pour them back into their box. Okay. Gonna look for the little ladybug. I'm gonna add it to the charm bracelet, for lack of a better word. Really kind of what it is. Like I said, these are adorable, but I don't love this kind of stitch marker. Just because there's lots of little things that can get caught on the yarn. So I like to look at them more than use them. There's a spot. Just about out of room on this bracelet. There's all my stitch markers. If you go to yarn shows, once we're allowed to go to places again, they often have stitch marker exchanges. And so, like, this one's really not my favorite, this, like, mermaid tail. Even though I kind of like the mermaid stuff, it's pretty gigantic. And so like what you could do is you could put it in with a stitch marker exchange and take one that you did like. And so that's kind of fun if you've got a bunch of spare stitch markers. Also, like kind of the same with this one. It's really cute, but it's gigantic. And so like I could envision exchanging that because somebody might really like the giant one. So, Runaway Needle Red says I like it when they list both the letter and the millimeter. On a normal clover hook, I think both the letter and the millimeters are there. And I'm actually fine with either. Like I can make like I know what they are to convert back and forth. I just always found it just a little bit frustrating that it flip-flopped back and forth. Um and then the other thing that part of the reason I don't like that is because a 7 hook is a 4.5 millimeter hook. And so I do have one hook labeled 7, and I can tell the difference between 7 millimeters and 4.5 millimeters, but I thought that was weird because it flip-flops back and forth. So if they were always labeled with a letter, I would assume that it would go B, C, D, E, F, 7, H, I, J. But if you're flip-flopping back and forth, it's not immediately apparent if a 7 hook is a 7 hook or a 7 millimeter hook. So, anyway, I'm also just kind of a stickler for consistency as far as things like that go. Like, I don't actually have a preference, but I do prefer that they're consistent. But other people are not quite so inflexible, so it's probably doesn't bother people is as much. Yeah, G hook is iffy on size. Sometimes it's a 4, sometimes it's a 4.25. I don't know why things flex like that. I also don't know if 1/4 millimeter actually makes a difference. Like I know practically it probably does, but when you get into the D, E, F hooks, they're 3.25, 3.5, 3.75, and it's like, could it possibly matter? Like, would you actually know if you went up or down a hook size? And actually, I can tell you, you almost can't tell because I'm positive I've done projects in an F hook and switched halfway through to an E hook, and it doesn't make a huge difference. 1/4 millimeter per stitch just really doesn't end up making a gigantic difference. Your stitches might look ever so slightly tighter if you go down a hook or ever so slightly looser if you go up a hook there. Now, if you're jumping whole millimeters, if you accidentally picked up a 4 millimeter instead of a 5, then you're going to notice that. And even half a millimeter does make a difference. I'm just not totally sure 1/4 does. So, I also don't know how tight their tolerance actually is. Like, if they say it's 4 millimeters, is it 4 millimeters or is it like 4.1 or 4.15? At which point, like, a 4.25 doesn't actually matter because it could also be a 4.15. So, and yeah, you can always adjust tension to fix your loops as well. So yeah, it is frustrating that things are not consistent, and that bothers me as well. Like, there's no reason for some companies to sell a G hook as a 4.25 and some companies to sell it as a 4. But 4.25 actually kind of makes more sense, I guess, in my head, because if you're gonna go 3.25, 3.5, 3.75, you might as well go to 4.25 because the next hook is often a 5. You can get a 4.5, but it's kind of a weird size in some companies. And so, like, you probably want to get at least some way down from a 3.75, you probably want a bigger step than just to 4 if your next hook's going to be a 5. So I think the companies that sell 4 1/4s don't have 4 1/2s, generally, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to share. I had intended to make some crochet edge blankets, but I just haven't gotten to lay them out and cut them yet. So I really need to do that if I'm gonna make them because I've really only got about a week left. It is a week to Christmas Eve right now. Um, so yeah, I've got that hat. I might make one more hat. I really ought to be able to make a hat in a day, but I keep getting distracted, or just being tired at night and not finishing up projects that I'm working on. So, the good news is I've got a nice long weekend ahead, and hopefully I can get a few things done, Christmas present wise. So, let's see if there's any more questions that I missed when things crashed. Nope, I think I'm all caught up. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to talk about. If you guys have other questions, yarn related or crochet related or whatnot, go ahead and throw those in the live chat and we'll talk about them. I think we are kind of on a pretty big delay, so I'll give it just a second so that you guys actually get to hear that question. I guess it would be interesting to know what you guys are working on Christmas present wise. I think we talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago just to see who was making presents and who was just, you know, kind of letting it go for this year and not. It's a lot of stress to make people gifts, especially if you try to make too many all at once. And so I've kept it pretty minimal this year. I think I'm making, if I get everything made that I want, I'll do 3 crochet edge blankets and 2 hats, and the dragon. So that'd be all of my Christmas crochet. At the rate that I'm going, it's going to be 2 hats and a dragon. And maybe 1 crochet blanket, but possibly not even that. So we'll see where I end up. The crochet edge blankets really don't take very long, so I can sometimes whip those out pretty quickly. Can kind of finish them, like each one in an evening. I'm just running low on evenings left, so. Wow. Runaway Needle Red said she mailed out $140 in postage on yarn gifts. That's a heck of a lot of yarn gifts. It's either one really heavy package or a lot of small packages. Marquita says she doesn't celebrate Christmas, but she's been working on turban twisted headbands. I think I've seen those. I was actually one of, if they're what I'm remembering, it was one of the projects that got me slightly interested way back when I was like considering starting to crochet. Oh, those are cool. My husband's just showing me a picture. This was actually, I guess it was a turban style like toddler hat that a friend of mine from college had made her twin nieces, and she posted a picture of these babies wearing these adorable little crochet hats. And it was one of the things that I was like, ooh, I wish I could do something like that. And I probably waited like another 2 years before I actually ended up doing something. But she was probably my first like Ravelry friend, so that I could find that pattern. And I think it's probably the oldest pattern in my Ravelry library, like the first one I put in there. So, but they sound very cute. So, at least the pattern I just looked at was super cute. So, especially for somebody who wears their hair kind of up in that messy bun style, they're really cute. Wow, Runaway Needle Red still has more to mail out. Well, hopefully they get out and delivered safely. I've got a lot of stuff held up in postage right now. People are. It seems like things are eventually arriving, but the mail service is moving much slower than I remember most years around Christmas. I think that they're just really slammed between people being out sick. I think there's a whole post office on the East Coast that's just completely shut down. And all the mail is just sitting because they don't have enough staff to like run. Um, it actually might be where I ordered some tea like 2.5 weeks ago, and it's been sitting. Like it took a couple days to ship out, but it's been sitting in Newark, New Jersey for like 7 or 8 days now, and just hasn't moved. Which I'm not in that big of a hurry for it, but it's just odd. So hopefully everything gets where it needs to go on time, and everyone likes their presents. So Um, yeah, I really that's all I've got to share tonight. I don't well, I'm positive we will not stream on Christmas Eve because we travel to see family on Christmas Eve. Um, though I maybe would stream sometime either before or after Christmas between like to kind of cover the stream on a different day. So I don't know if I would stream on like Tuesday night or maybe Sunday night or something different. But I might end up streaming. I definitely will not stream on Christmas Eve. Last year we did stream on New Year's Eve though, and that was kind of fun. So we might stream again on New Year's Eve, which is a regular stream night. It's a Thursday night. So I think Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are exactly a week apart. So it would be 2 weeks out. Oh, Runaway Needle Red says there's a big snowstorm in New Jersey. So maybe that's why it's not moving. I didn't actually look. I guess I hadn't heard about any big snowstorms yet this year. So I didn't actually look. We got like a dusting of snow a couple of days ago, and it was kind of a disaster. Like people just forget how to drive the first snow, and it always surprises me how bad it goes. Um but yeah, it was maybe a quarter inch of like accumulated snow on the roads. So yeah, that would make more sense if there's a huge snowstorm, why things are not moving. But or I don't know, there's any other number of reasons things just sit for a while. Um so like I said, I'm not in that big of a hurry. It's just abnormal. I order a lot of tea from Harney and Sons, and so I'm used to it showing up. Like they're pretty good about shipping like 2 days later, and then it kind of comes, 3-4 days in the mail, and I have it inside a week, and it's been over 2.5 weeks, and so it's just a little bit weird. I've got a lot of Christmas, well, not a lot, but I've got several Christmas teas. They have a new gingerbread tea this year, and then there's a Christmas flavored one, which is going to be like cinnamon and cloves and I don't know, Christmas flavored. Um, and then I don't remember what the other two is. It was a part of a set. Um, but I'm a big tea drinker. I drink a lot of tea at work. I mostly collect a lot of tea, but I do drink tea probably 3 or 4 days a week. So, um, I've got a kettle and sugar cubes and all sorts of fun little things in my office to make tea in the middle of the day. It's kind of a nice, relaxing thing to do. So, all right. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up for the evening. And like I said, we're not going to stream next Thursday on Christmas Eve, but I might try and schedule a before or after Christmas stream. I just have to see what my schedule looks like. I it would probably be more likely to be after. I'll probably be wrapping presents and baking and all sorts of things. I usually bake quite a lot of cookies and stuff around Christmas, so I would expect that it would be unlikely that I would stream before Christmas. But maybe the Sunday after or something. Just kind of keep your eyes out on Instagram, Facebook, or the look for like a scheduled stream on YouTube or something like that. So, Runaway Needle Red says that she loves tea and coffee, and tea is very healthy. Um, yeah, I mean, I just like tea, so I have recently gotten into drinking some coffee. I drink a little bit of like iced coffee or cold brew, and then occasionally we'll make a pot of coffee at work, like a French press style coffee from there's a local bean roastery place that we will get coffee from and grind it and make it fresh, so it's usually very good. But I'm like a maybe 1 cup every 2 days type of coffee drinker. Not a can't function without it in the morning type of coffee drinker. So, um, anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna wrap up for the evening and keep your eyes out for sometime next week or early the following week, and then we'll likely stream on New Year's Eve. So just keep an eye out for posts mentioning when we're going to stream. You can find me at Experiments in Crafting on both Facebook and Instagram. So there should be posts announcing if we're going to stream or if we're going to cancel the stream or anything like that. If we cancel a stream, it would be on Facebook, Instagram, and on the community tab of Facebook, or I'm sorry, community tab of YouTube. And then if we are going to have a stream, hopefully we'll schedule it. But if we're gonna do kind of like a weird, we don't normally stream on Sunday or whatever or Monday, then I'll try and post about it ahead of time so that everybody can know about it. So, for those of you who celebrate Christmas, have a great Christmas, and for those of you who don't, enjoy your holidays, and hopefully you get a little bit of time off of work anyway. So have a great night, and see you all at the next stream. Good night. Thanks for watching.